Welcome to cooking school. Growing up in New Jersey, I used to think that Jersey corn was the best. But now that I have a house on Long Island, I think Long Island corn is even better. And I know each and every one of you has your favorite source for fresh corn. In today's show, I'll share some of my favorite corn recipes, starting with crisp corn fritters. Small, savory, and deep fried, they are delicious, sprinkled with salt and served with, surprisingly, honey. Then the ultimate summer corn chowder, filled with small bites of potato and seasoned with fresh thyme and chives. And last, my recipe for creamed corn. Enriched with butter and cream, it will become your family's favorite. I cook with corn all summer. I love it steamed with butter and salt. I love to prepare it like they do in Mexico with chili and lime and cheese. And I also love to make corn fritters, which is my first recipe to teach you today. So first, you need 2 cups for corn fritters of corn removed from the cob. Husk the corn, take off all the silk, as much as you can, and then with a very sharp knife on a cloth-lined tray, as I'm doing, strip the kernels from the cob. Now the kernels from 1 regular ear of corn like this should equal approximately 1 cup of corn kernels. So let's see. You need 2 cups of corn kernels for this particular recipe. Very close. And see how easy it is if you do it on a cloth like this to just sort of pick them up and put them where you want them. There. Certainly is just about 1 cup. So here's our 2 cups of corn. I've already done 1 ear. Reserve this one for the second batch. And it's a funny thing with fritters and pancakes, there's always a second batch. Now there's no correlation, by the way, between the corn's color, which is derived from carotene, and its sugar content. But I must tell you, the fresher it is, the faster you cook it, the sweeter and better it will be. And people's preferences for corn color are largely based on where they come from and what they ate as a child. For instance, New Englanders generally prefer yellow corn or butter and sugar corn, which is that nice bicolor variety. This is a butter and sugar corn. And Californians usually favor white corn. We're using butter and sugar today. So we have egg, 1 egg. I'm making the batter now. Break up the egg, and the egg gets mixed with 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cornmeal. Cornmeal adds a nice crunchiness to your batter. 3/4 cup of unbleached flour, 1½ teaspoons of coarse salt, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and 1/2 cup of milk. This is a stiff batter. You don't want a very wet batter because you're going to be dropping this batter with the corn in it into the hot safflower oil, which is heating on the stove right now. Better adjust the temperature. Let's see. We're up to 330. So adjust the flame so that the oil comes up to about 375. During cooking, the oil temperature should be around 360 degrees. It does cool off as you add your batter. So add your 2 cups of corn kernels. And easy as corn fritters, you have a very nice, light, fluffy batter. And this is ready to drop into the hot oil as soon as it reaches temperature. And I found that using an ice cream scoop makes nice round fritters. You can use, if you don't have one, this is a small one, it's about 1.5 tablespoons size. If you don't have one of these, you can use 2 spoons and push it off 2 spoons. Okay, so now our temperature has just reached 375, and I'm going to use this little scoop, and you just plop it right in. Do it in small batches because you don't want to lower the temperature of the oil too much. But you see how easy it is to use this instead of 2 spoons, and it really does free up your other hand. Be careful not to drop it in. You don't want to splatter the oil. You want to be very careful. Have a piece of paper towel on a platter ready to take the fried fritters as soon as they come out of the oil, but they're turning a beautiful golden brown in just a matter of a minute or two. This kind of Chinese spider is a very, very good tool for deep frying like this. It does enable you to lift and not take too much oil with it. And you can really smell the corn. Those kernels of corn are cooking right in the pretty fritter. So isn't that a pretty sight? I'll put one more batch in. This is a handy tool. I don't know if you know what this is, but that's a splatter guard, just to keep the oil from splattering all over you. Little nubbins of corn. So if you start with oil that's 375 degrees, I would try to keep it at around 370 throughout the cooking process for good golden brown fritters that are cooked through and through in just a couple of minutes. So these cute little fritters can be served as a snack, as a side dish, and they can also be served as a first course. So we're getting about 26. That's pretty good. Arrange the drained fritters on a platter, heated platter, and serve these piping hot. They don't get better as they sit out. They don't taste as good as when they are pretty hot. Golden balls of delicious seasonal corn. Serve them with honey and a little bit of sea salt. Really delicious. So when you're cutting off kernels of corn from the cobs, don't throw away the cobs. This makes a delicious corn stock. It's very simple and easy to make, and it is delicious as a base for any dish where you may want to maximize the flavor of corn. Now this is perhaps the simplest recipe in all of cooking school. 5 or 6 corn cobs, kernels removed, 1 large onion. I'm using a big white onion that's peeled and cut into quarters. This just goes right into the pot, and add 8 cups of water or so. This will give you a really flavorful corn stock, which can be kept in the refrigerator for 4 or 5 days, but frozen for up to 3 months. Bring this to a boil, reduce to a simmer, and cook for 45 minutes. You can flavor risotto with it, corn chowders, any kind of chowders, also tortilla soup. Very tasty. You'll enjoy it. Simple as that. Good corn chowder. There are, by the way, about 90 million acres of land planted with corn in the United States, but only about 1% of that is sweet corn, the kind that we like to eat off the cob. So once this is cooked for about 45 minutes, turn it off and pour it into a strainer. This is my favorite way to pour a large amount of bulky stuff. Just hold the cover so all the corn cobs and those onions stay right in the pot. And here you have a nice, clear, extremely fragrant, corny stock. I love how something as simple as this can be so utterly delicious. Now we associate chowder with places like New England and Manhattan, and today's chowder is made with fresh corn, potatoes, and cream. It is delicious, so let's get started. 4 tablespoons of butter melted, 1 large white onion peeled and diced, about 5 cups of corn kernels freshly cut off the cob, salt, about a teaspoon, and cook this over a medium to low flame until the corn starts to exude its liquid. And don't forget a little bouquet garni of 5 or 6 sprigs of thyme. I like to wrap it up in cheesecloth like this because I don't want a lot of greenery in my chowder. For stock, we're using corn stock made out of the corn cobs. Very simple, as you saw. And just let this cook slowly for 20 minutes. Give it a stir every now and then. Do not burn or brown. So the corn has been cooking for about 15 minutes. Now it's almost time to add the potatoes. These are fingerling potatoes, which are in the markets pretty regularly now. And it's a small, stubby potato, the length of a finger. Peel it clean, and then cut it into, like 1/2-inch discs. These will cook nice and evenly. And they're an odd shape, so they're kind of curious. I like that. And we have 5 cups of corn stock. You can add that right now. And now add your 1 pound of fingerling potato discs. And you're going to continue cooking until the potatoes are tender to the point of a knife. So watch them carefully. You don't want the potatoes to fall apart, but you certainly want them tender and edible. So remove the little herb bouquet, the thyme packet. Looks very good. Now we're going to remove about 1/3 of this and puree it. See how gorgeous and well cooked everything is? I'm going to take out a lot of the solids and puree what's left in the pot using an immersion blender. It works so well. And this will make the soup, the chowder, very nice and thick. Now be very careful when pureeing hot liquids like this. Don't splatter it on yourself. Be very careful not to look away from the job. It's a little frightening to get hot liquid splattered on you. And don't lift it out of the liquid while it's still going. So there, that looks good. Now add to the pureed portion of the soup 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream, or I'm using 1/2 and 1/2. That's rich enough for me. Nice sprinkling of black pepper, a sprinkling of salt. Stir that around. You can see what the consistency is. It's lumpy a little bit, but still greatly pureed from what's here. Now I would pour the hot liquid right over the still intact corn and potatoes. Serve this while it is piping hot. I think I'm going to have a big bowl of this soup. This is really pretty. Each bowl can be gently garnished with very finely cut chives. It's very nice with the corn and the potatoes. You can let people add more salt or pepper as they like. And if you're like some people in my family, make sure you have a little hot sauce on the side. It really enlivens the flavor of the corn. So hot sauce for you, none for me. Beautiful, beautiful corn chowder. I grew up in Nutley, New Jersey, and I must say there is nothing we wait for more than July and August corn.
People look forward to it all year long. Corn begins to lose its sweetness the moment it is picked. All those delicious sugars start to turn to starch. So the faster you cook it after it's picked, the better. And I always ask, when was this corn picked when I go to the farm stand? And if the answer is anything but, oh, an hour ago or this morning, I don't buy the corn. So I want to show you basically one way to cook the corn, because people are always asking, how long do you cook it? What do you do with it? How do you serve it? And this is just stovetop corn in a large pot of boiling salted water. Some people add milk to the water. Some people add sugar to the water. I just add salt, especially if you have good, fresh, sweet corn. Put your corn cobs into the rapidly boiling water and try to clean the corn really well. Get all the pieces of silk off it, and you want to shuck it so that the ears are nice and clean. And let that cook and time it. 5 minutes for fresh picked small kernel corn, maybe a few more minutes for the larger kernels like this. Bring it to a rapid boil. When you're choosing corn, always look for ears with bright green, snugly fitting husks and golden brown silk. And inside, the kernel should come all the way to the very top. And you want to buy the corn that you love the best. Yellow corn has larger, fuller flavored kernels. White kernels are generally smaller and sweeter. This has been in for 6 minutes. Just drain it on a cotton towel, and you can cover it with a cotton towel too. That'll keep it nice and steamy hot till you get it to the table. Looks good, smells good. So what I like to do is just take the ear of corn and a tablespoon of butter and just hold it like this and coat the whole thing with butter. And then as much salt as you like. Sprinkle the whole thing and just start chomping away. That's corn on the cob. Now here is an alternative method of eating corn that I find utterly delicious. I went to Mexico City last year and I couldn't believe how fabulous the Mexican street corn was. It's served on sticks like that, and the corn is coated with either sour cream or a tablespoon or so of mayonnaise. Hot corn, just slather on the mayo. Ugh, it's so good. And now sprinkle with a little cayenne pepper all over, and roll this corn right into queso fresco, Mexican white cheese. And serve that just like that with some wedges of fresh lime. That's Mexican corn on the cob. It's best to spread the condiments on the corn while it's still hot, and that'll ensure that the fats will melt in between the kernels, providing even more succulent eating. So whether you choose to have Mexican corn like this, or just plain corn on the cob with butter and salt, they're both delicious. Enjoy.
I'm sure when many of you think of creamed corn, it brings back memories of something that can easily come from a can. But this popular side dish was common in the American Midwest long before it became an American canned staple. Made with fresh corn kernels and cream, this homemade creamed corn is nothing like the canned version. And it's very easy to make. So I'm just finishing cutting off the kernels from 8 ears of corn. And as soon as I'm done with this, take the pulp from the cob with the edge of a spoon. What comes out from each and every one of these little indentations is what's known as corn milk. And just scrape it like this. So you can see that's what corn milk is. Put that right in with the kernels. It's very flavorful, very tasty. It's sweet and adds a great flavor that the kernels alone just can't match. So this is an essential part of the traditional American creamed corn. All this gets added to the bowl. And in a big skillet, saute in some butter, 4 tablespoons of butter, 1 onion, finely chopped. So just start the onions cooking a little bit, then add your corn kernels and corn milk, and 1 cup of water. Let this cook for approximately 20 minutes. Now add 1 cup of water. Bring that water to a boil, and it'll come to a boil rather quickly. Reduce it to a simmer and cover and cook until the corn is very tender, 25 to 30 minutes. And don't discard those cobs. Turn that into your wonderful corn stock. Very, very easy, as I showed you. Onion, corn cobs, and water. It's boiling, reduce it to a simmer. Cover and cook. Now this has been cooking for 20 minutes. It looks very pretty. Add 1.5 cups of heavy cream. This is not diet food, but it is good food. Bring this to a boil and cook until the mixture thickens. While that's happening, you can add 1 teaspoon of sugar, about a half a teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. So no bechamel, no flour, nothing but corn to thicken corn. And I think this with a pork roast, with a nice big pork chop. Remember, most of the corn in the United States is grown in Iowa, where there's also a lot of pork, and that's where they make a lot of creamed corn. Very, very delicious. Serve it piping hot, and it really is best just served immediately after making. It takes about 4 to 6 minutes for this to thicken up. You can use some of this creamed corn poured into the center of a cornbread before you bake it. It adds an extraordinary texture. And you can also probably turn this creamed corn into a very nice corn pudding with the addition of egg and grated cheese. Adjust the seasoning to your liking. There, this is nice and thick. And it looks really, really different than the version that comes from the can. So there, I think that's cooked enough. Ladle that into your serving dish. And serve. Creamed corn, an American classic. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next episode of Cooking School.
Coarsely chop 2 tablespoons of cilantro. Transfer to a bowl with 4 tablespoons of room temperature butter. Add a half a teaspoon of grated lime zest and 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice. For a classic Mexican combination, add a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. Season with coarse salt and pepper and mix to combine. This tangy, spicy butter is just right with a grilled ear of sweet corn.